Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Myatt, formerly with the Cal State University Dominguez Hills School Leadership Programs. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Dr. Richard Martinez.
Thanks, Keith. And it's an honor to be with you today. I'm Richard S. Martinez, and I'm one of the co-authors of Culturally Proficient Coaching, along with the Lindsays and Keith Myatt. Today, we're going to have a little conversation about equity mindedness, and we're going to talk about a contrast between equality and equity. So let's just present a couple definitions. Equality is about sameness. It focuses on making sure everyone gets the same thing. Equity is about fairness. It ensures that each person gets what he or she needs.
And I think a good example of that is when we think about people in schools trying to get kids to be able to, zoom in and do their work from home. We've seen plenty of those pictures where the assistant principal is out passing out laptops and hotspots to as kids drive by. But what that's revealed to us is that there's a real inequity when we talk about access, the places they can do schoolwork that is similar to the places at school, just being able to keep the technology and use the technology and expect the parents to do and help with the work of the students.
That reminds me of a graphic that many of you have seen. It's the graphic of the school children trying to look over a fence, and they want to all see the baseball game. And equality is about giving them all the same size box. And there's a little child that is shorter than the others. He was given a box, but he still can't see over the fence. And the equity would be to give him a couple boxes so he could be taller, higher, and then be able to look over the fence and enjoy the game. What COVID-19 has shown us in our educational system is really, it's revealed the have and have-nots of technology and the have and have-nots in terms of community access to a full curriculum. And that's on us now as educators to sort that out so that all children can have full access to their education.
As you look at that, that graphic, um, there's a fence there, and everybody's trying to look over the fence. In cultural proficiency, we talk about an inside out approach. And my question would be, who's maintaining that fence?
Ah,
Who's maintaining and keeping the barriers into full participation of everyone and every child from occurring? And we are the ones who are in charge of the program. Teachers, the culture of teaching, the cultures of education, the culture of the schools, of the districts, of the people who run them, all of that have created and maintained these fences. And for many children, it's an intimidating thing to try to get past. And so I think we need to think about taking responsibility here. When we think about the cultural proficiency continuum, blindness, everybody gets the same. We know fails to acknowledge the differences that every child and every human being brings into the school. So being thoughtful about how do we move from blindness to pre-competence, competence, proficiency requires us to look at our own privilege as barriers to every student achieving.
as we think about that fence, and you brought up an important point, who's maintaining that fence? So as we see the world through new eyes, it brings to mind a quote from my grandparents that would tell me, when you point to something, there are three fingers pointing back at you. And so I invite all the educators who are watching us today to not only identify the barriers in the system, the fence, if you will, but also begin to reflect internally, a self-reflection on the three fingers pointing back at what you can do. Stephen Covey would call that the circle of influence.
Hmm.
And what can you do within that circle of influence to, in this case, break down the fence? In this case, allow even the fence to be totally eliminated so that can be total liberation and access to a full and vibrant curriculum.
there's districts now who are doing equity audits. And one of the questions that people have to ask themselves constantly is, who benefits from this policy or procedure or practice? If, and we have so many things in place where the teachers are the ones who are benefiting as opposed to the students, or at the expense of the students. And so we'd like to end with a quote. To effectively educate today's students in higher education, we must focus on both equity and quality to make the most empowering forms of college learning available to all students. Such an approach begins with equity-minded leaders who make it a priority to build new opportunities for low-income students and students of color. And that's from the AACU.